Welcome back to the channel, chess fans. Today we're diving into a fantastic puzzle from the 2017 German Bundesliga, where Dennis Wagner, playing for Hockenheim, faced off against the legendary Grandmaster Predrag Nikolic from Solingen. Nikolic is a chess heavyweight. He's been a top player since the 1980s, even challenging for the World Championship cycle back in the day. But here, Wagner, who was a bit of an underdog with a lower rating, unleashes a brilliant idea that turns the game into a quick masterpiece. This position arises after some aggressive play by white, opening up the king side with pawn advances. It's white to move, and the goal is to find a way to crash through black's defenses. Let's break it down step by step, focusing on concepts like coordinating your pieces, using open files, and maneuvering your queen to deadly spots. Ideas that can help any improving player spot winning tactics. First, take a look at the H-file. White has doubled rooks there, with one on H1 and another on H2, staring right down at black's bishop on H7. That bishop is hanging out in the corner, protected by the knight on F6 and the king on G8. But notice how open that H-file is. No pawns in the way, so those rooks are already applying serious pressure. White also has a knight on F4, which is active and eyeing some sensitive spots around black's position, and the queen is on D1, ready for action. Black's king looks a bit exposed, with pieces like the knight on C6 not doing much to help on the king side. The material is slightly in black's favor by a pawn, but white's activity more than makes up for it. As a good player analyzing this, you'd start by looking for forcing moves, checks, captures, or threats that black can't ignore. Capturing right away with the rook on H2 to H7 seems tempting, but let's see why it's not the best yet. If white just grabs the bishop, black's knight on F6 can recapture, and then white's second rook could follow up. But it doesn't quite blow things open because the queen isn't in position to join the party effectively. Instead, the star move here is a subtle queen maneuver that sets up a devastating sacrifice. Boom. White plays the queen from D1 down to C2. Why is this so powerful? At first glance, it attacks the bishop on H7 along that long diagonal from C2 all the way to H7 with nothing in the path. Now the bishop is hit by both the rook on H2 and the queen, making it doubly threatened. But the real genius is how this positions the queen to slide laterally along the second rank later. It's like setting up a slingshot. You're preparing to launch the queen into the attack after clearing the way. This kind of foresight is key for weaker players to learn. Don't just think about the next move. Visualize how your pieces can reposition to exploit weaknesses. Now, how would a strong player like Nikolic react? He sees the danger and tries to block that queen's diagonal with pawn to G6. Smart. Now the pawn on G6 clogs up the line, so the queen on C2 no longer hits H7 directly. But white isn't deterred. Next comes the rook sacrifice. The rook on H2 captures the bishop on H7. Black has to recapture with the knight from F6 to H7, removing the intruder. But now, with the H2 square vacated, white's queen slides over to H2, jumping onto the open H-file. Look at that coordination. The queen is now blasting up the H-file, supported by the remaining rook on H1. Black tries to defend by moving the rook to E8, maybe hoping to counterattack or guard the back rank. But it's too late. White captures the knight with the queen to H7, and it's check. Why check? Because from H7, the queen attacks black's king on G8 diagonally. It's right next door, and there's no piece blocking that short path. Plus, this queen is protected by white's rook on H1, so the king can't safely capture it. The king is forced to scamper to F8. White follows up by moving the queen back to H6 with another check, now attacking along a different diagonal toward F8. And get this, it's slipping past black's own pawn on G7 because the geometry works out with the path clear enough for the threat. Remember, in chess, you have to calculate these lines precisely to see if attacks land. Black's king runs to E7, but white seals the deal with queen to G5. Yet another check, hitting the king on E7 along an open diagonal through F6, which is now empty since black's knight got captured earlier. Black resigned here because the king is getting chased around, white's pieces are dominating, and material losses are inevitable without any counterplay. What a sequence. White sacrifices a rook but gains back a bishop and knight, ends up with a massive attack, and the queen dances around like a boss. This tactic highlights how doubling rooks on an open file can create huge pressure, and a simple queen shift can unlock killer combinations. Wagner's win here was an upset against a stronger opponent, showing that sharp tactics can beat experience. If you're a weaker player, practice spotting these queen maneuvers in your games. It'll level up your attacks big time. What do you think of this puzzle? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like and subscribe for more breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next video.